We managed to escape, but there were a lot of friends that didn't, and there are a lot of friends that are kept captive now in Gaza. And we were saved by miracle, but there are friends that we love that weren't, and that aren't. Thank you for being here. It's really important.
That exchange ends with a big embrace. Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. That powerful and emotional connection took place earlier today as the United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, reaffirmed the United States, quote, unequivocal support for Israel. Today, Secretary of State Blinken meeting with the Prime Minister and other Israeli leaders in Tel Aviv, as well as survivors, like you saw there, of the horrific terror attack. Blinken emphasized that the United States is doing everything in our power to assist Israel in securing the release of the hostages taken into Gaza, among which are some Americans, as the number of Americans confirmed dead from Saturday's terrorist attack has now reached 27. The hostage crisis is growing more and more tense with each passing hour and day. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has vowed the complete siege of Gaza and said it would not be lifted until the hostages are released. Israel has been pounding Gaza with missiles for days now. Areas of Gaza have been reduced to rubble and soot. Right now, more than 300,000 people in Gaza are displaced. Right across the border into Israel, the military there is preparing for a potential ground assault. Earlier, our colleague Allison Barber saw a series of Israeli tanks moving just 2 miles from the Gaza border. Let's bring into our coverage NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel at the Israel-Gaza border. Richard, tell me what you've seen today and what you expect in the coming hours.
Well, I can tell you what we've been seeing over the last few minutes and the last few hours here. Continuous Israeli airstrikes into Gaza, not just concentrated in Gaza City, but all throughout the Gaza Strip, as far as we can tell from where we are. They seem to be coming every few minutes, and they seem to be quite intense, large munitions. There has been some rocket fire fired by Hamas coming into Israel, intercepted by the Iron Dome system, but not much rocket fire coming out of Gaza. Mostly it has been Israeli airstrikes going into Gaza City and the areas around it. And according to Palestinian medical officials, they just updated their figures, and they say that more than 1,500 Palestinians have been killed since this air campaign began after Saturday's Hamas attacks, and they say 6,000 Palestinians have been injured. But the big development that could happen at any time now, it could happen in the morning, could happen tomorrow, we don't know, but we know that the Israelis say that they are ready for it, would be a ground incursion into Gaza, which would not just be launched from here. We are on the northern side of the Gaza Strip, but it could come from many different directions and involve also naval attacks into Gaza. So we are seeing the air campaign now, but not the ground campaign.
Richard Engel, Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a point of explaining some of the Hamas tactics for what we're about to see unfold in Gaza. And he said this, quote, Hamas uses civilians as human shields. They also hide their weapons behind civilian population centers. Israel does not target civilians. Any indication that Hamas could or would change their ways as what you describe unfurls?
Well, Hamas certainly does use human shields. It has just taken hostages, and it is holding those hostages, and those hostages are both pawns to trade, and they are human shields. When Israel describes human shields in Gaza, they mean that Hamas hides among the population. It has some of its command centers allegedly under hospitals or under apartment buildings, and Hamas certainly does do that. Some of it is by constraints because it lives in they operate in a small, densely populated area, and some of it is for their own protection. No, I would not anticipate that they're going to change their tactics now and suddenly come out into the open. We also hear drones over the sky. This area is intensely watched. If Hamas gunmen suddenly started to move in formations and move around in open areas in Gaza, I think they would be targeted quite quickly. So will Hamas change its tactics? Hamas thinks its tactics are effective. If you listen to the Hamas propaganda, and Hamas has been putting out a lot of statements, they say that what they did was legitimate. There was just a Hamas statement in English a short while ago in which they claimed that they didn't hurt any civilians. They claimed that they have been kind to the hostages. They insulted President Biden. A lot of what you would normally expect from Hamas, but there was no indication that they're going to change their tactics. They think what they're doing is right and justified and effective, and they have said that they're preparing for the Israeli potentially imminent ground invasion, and they welcome it so that they can fight on their own territory where they know the terrain.
Your points in your reporting about their use of propaganda are so interesting, as it seems that they are able to deploy some of that to great effect. We heard from an Israeli official today who said that the hospital is indeed out of fuel, but that the places where Hamas terrorists meet and organize are not. Can you confirm that report?
No, I can't confirm that report. People stockpile fuel, not only Hamas. The Gaza Strip is a place that is frequently cut off. It is not under normal circumstances, goods come in and out of there freely. It is a country or it is a territory that exists with shortages, with closures all the time. So people live with generators, they live with fuel canisters. So it's not surprising that Hamas would stockpile some supplies before a possible invasion. That's not surprising at all. Other people in Gaza have been stockpiling as well. It depends on your economic capacity. But even now, those stockpiles, according to civilians who are inside, and what's important to realize is not everyone inside of Gaza is Hamas. There are many, many people who loathe Hamas, who just want to live their lives. They try and stockpile food and fuel so that they can live normally. And even many people that we've spoken to who are not Hamas members are starting now to run very low on supplies. So stockpiling what you can is not an unusual activity.
Richard Engel, you are eyes and ears in the region for all manner of crises, and unfortunately for as you just described, the civilian population in Gaza, it's all too frequent. What are your reflections in terms of what you've seen since you've been on the ground there this time?
Well, It's I think how much people have forgotten about this conflict. People were talking to me earlier and asking me, well, why don't the Palestinians just leave? Why isn't this like Ukraine? They're under attack. Why aren't the borders to Egypt and to other areas open? Why aren't we seeing a stream of refugees heading into other countries? People don't necessarily, or maybe they've forgotten because so many years have passed since there's been an intense Middle East war, and this one is intensifying and could become a broader Middle East war, and they've forgotten the dynamic here, that this is a population. They are run by, there's 2 million people, as you mentioned, in the Gaza Strip. They are run by Hamas. Hamas took over throughout the previous government. The people there have no choice who governs them. Many of them do not like Hamas, but they can't leave. They can't overthrow their government. And now they feel that they are being punished for the actions, the brutal actions that Hamas took and continues to justify. So when I'm here, and I've been here before, I've covered conflicts between Hamas and Israel numerous times. I've covered them from inside Gaza. This time we're covering them from outside Gaza, not by choice. We're covering it from outside Gaza because we can't get into the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is completely sealed off. And to answer your question, it's strange how much time has passed and how much people have forgotten about the basic dynamics of this conflict. And also what makes this one so different was the sheer brutality of Hamas. We hadn't seen that kind of thing before, where Hamas went door to door, executing people, executing entire families. The increased skill that Hamas had in its military tactics, and the hostage dynamic. Hostage dynamic is profoundly different this time. When in previous conflicts, Israel was able to bomb and move in with, I don't want to say with impunity, because there was always public pressure, international pressure, humanitarian pressure, not to cause many civilian casualties. But now there are Israeli civilians, American civilians, inside the Gaza Strip as it's under attack. It is a nightmare for a military planner, and it is a nightmare for the people who live in Gaza. the people who do not support Hamas.